Okay, so I wanted to record a couple of clips here. So this is of course my truck here. This is a power steering cooler off of my brother's 2011 Chevy Silverado, the one that we were parting out. He doesn't need it, there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to put it on my truck here because my truck does not actually have one. Never have one. I think certain models have some, or had them, but for whatever reason mine does not. But it won't hurt anything to have one. So I'm going to take and I'm going to add this. I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm going to change the power steering fluid when I do this. I'm just going to drain it, put new power steering fluid in it. I'm also going to add a power steering fluid filter. That's also something they didn't come with from the factory, but again, that's a good idea because it helps get rid of any metal shavings and keeps them out of the pump and the gearbox or the steering box and all that. So the cooler and the filter should, in theory, help things last longer. There's nothing really wrong with mine, but this will make it last longer in theory, so I might as well do it. This is free, because like I said, it was already, there, so all I had to do is just pull it off. The filter, I think it's like somewhere around $13, $14, and the fluid's not that expensive. I don't know the exact price, but I might as well go ahead and change it with new fluid. I thought about putting the original fluid back in it, but I was like, I'm just going to change it. The paint is kind of peeling off, so I may spray paint it. I've already got some spray paint, so we're just going to call that free. Let me go ahead and pop the hood real fast, and I'll show you how I'm going to mount it. There's another tree frog in my door. He almost got crushed. He got lucky. So it's already got a hole there. It's already got a hole there, down there on the bottom. My truck already has a hole here. Don't really know why. It already has one here, and I believe it goes all the way through, so I can get a bolt all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here just like this. Sorry if I was shaking the camera a lot. But I'm going to put this in here just like this. I'm going to use that bolt hole. Then, all I got to do is come up with this upper support, and the way I'm going to do that is that's the radiator support right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just loosen up this bolt, put a piece of metal right here between the rubber and this radiator support, and then I'm just going to run it down at an angle, and that's the power steering cooler right there. So I can use the factory hole that's there, I can use the factory bolt that's there, and I don't have to modify anything at all, like drilling holes or anything, because I don't really like doing that. I will, but I don't like to. The pump does have a leak somewhere, so I'm going to try to fix that when I go ahead and do all this. And then all you got to do is find the high pressure line. The high pressure line is this one, and you can tell that because it's got special fitting. And then the low pressure line just has normal type hose clamps. So all I got to do is cut the low pressure line, which is the return line, run that to the power steering cooler, out of the power steering cooler, through the filter, and then back into the reservoir. And that's all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can figure out exactly how this is going to be mounted. I mean, I know how, but I got to cut a piece of metal here, and I got to find a bolt for there. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I've gotten somewhere with this. What I did is I finally found a bolt. I finally found a bolt that was long enough. So I put it in there. I did not tighten it down. This one's a Phillips head just for testing. I will eventually find a normal bolt. But I didn't tighten it down for the simple fact the nut's kind of hard to get to, and it being a Phillips head, I knew it was going to be annoying. So I don't plan on tightening this one down until I actually put it in the truck. I should say permanently, or for the final, when I actually put it in. But I also want to see if I can find like a normal bolt. So I didn't tighten this one down. Then what I did is I took and cut a piece of metal out of a washing machine, and I'm using the factory bolt. Just like I said, I am going to trim this because it's long, and I'm going to trim it to kind of curve and all that. But I put it in here just like I said, drilled it out. It fits nicely. It's nice and tight. Nothing's loose, and it doesn't really push the radiator over. It's not going to hurt anything. And then I just came over and drilled a hole. Now this piece of metal is flexible, which at first I was thinking was probably going to be a bad thing, but I actually got to thinking about it. It's got a rubber mount down here, and then this is a little bit flexible, so as I'm hitting bumps, it can wiggle just a little bit instead of being perfectly rigid. So that may actually be a good thing that's a little bit wobbly. But once I get this lower one here, it's going to be way sturdier than it is. It's not going to wiggle nearly as much, and even like that it probably would be fine. So, and then the lines are just going to come I'm probably just going to disconnect this one from the bottom of the pump here, or from the bottom of the reservoir here, or the where it goes in. I'm probably just going to disconnect that one. It may reach straight from there to this cooler, in which case I'm just going to run it straight to the cooler. And then I'm going to run a line out from the cooler. I'll mount my filter somewhere along in here, and then it'll just run back in just like it was originally. So far everything's turned out pretty good. I definitely got to trim this. I've got to paint it. I got to find another bolt, but it seems like it's going to actually work out really good. Okay, just make sure I don't forget. I just took and cut a second piece of metal here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. Took and cut a second piece of metal just to thicken it up a little bit, and it's definitely a lot stronger. Like, it takes a lot more, and when, you know, I let go, it doesn't wobble as much. And I want to trim this, but I also want to trim it to where I can actually put this metal bar that I made here on this side of it, and put this on the back side of the metal bar. Hold on. The mosquitoes are bad. Sorry. But anyway, so therefore it will actually lean this back a little bit, because even though it's not bad, it does have a slight lean forward. And it really won't hurt nothing, but if I can make it a little bit straighter, I would like to. That's about it as of right now. I gotta do a few finishing touches, but nothing major. Okay, so if you come over here, I trimmed this to curve. It's definitely not perfect. It's not a perfect curve with the rubber bushing, but it's close. And then I trimmed it here so I could put, the cooler behind it, which does actually straighten it up a good bit. And again, it's not a perfect fit, but it's a pretty good fit. And then, like I said, all I gotta do is just find this bottom bolt, put that bottom bolt in. And, oh yeah, and I gotta paint this. When I get ready to paint this, I'm probably not gonna record it. I'll just, you know, maybe show you what it looks like once it's painted. I was thinking about painting this. I don't think I'm gonna paint this right now. I may come back and paint it later, but it's not corroding or anything, so I think I'm gonna leave it for right at the moment. I don't wanna, like, paint it and make it thick or something on accident, and then it, you know, clog up and not work very good. So, yeah. But, okay. So here's the power steering fluid filter. That's for 3/8 hose. I think it said somewhere it was rated up to 75 psi, but it goes on the low pressure line, the return line. I've already technically opened it just to inspect it quickly. But it comes with 2 hose clamps. This is the filter. I believe you could take this metal band off and open it up to clean it, but I'm not going to do that right now. I don't know if you'll be able to see inside of here, but there is a screen in there. I'd seen one guy that left a comment talking about there's a screen, but I don't know if it's fine enough to catch anything. But there's also a magnet in here. Now, I've already tested. I took a little screw, and yes, I made sure not to poke a hole in the screen. But I took a little screw and I put in there, and I flipped it upside down, and it actually held the screw. So there is a magnet inside. They did not lie. But yeah, I guess the screen's there just as extra precaution, just to make sure, you know, it catches everything. So I can't complain so far. I won't know for sure until I put it on, but can't complain so far. Okay, so I did get it mounted, but it's not completely mounted yet. So what I did is I painted the mount here, bolted it in just like I said I would. I found a better bolt for down here. Okay, I cut the little piece of the one hose I had, and I put on there. This came off my brother's truck, actually. I cleaned it. Then I put the filter on and made sure the filter was facing the right way. Then it just runs up. It just runs up like this, and I put wire loom on it, and then it just goes back into the pump just like I'd said, and I got a hose clamp on there, but you can't really see it. But this piece of hose here that comes out of the steering box, I thought it was long enough to reach the cooler, but it's not long enough to reach the cooler. So I'm gonna have my mom order me a piece of hose offline, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this clamp, clean it, pull this hose off, put the new piece of hose on with a new clamp, and then run it over, put a clamp there, and it should be done other than filling it up and bleeding the air. what I'll do is I'll fill it up with power steering fluid. I will start it, bleed the air out, I'll add more fluid as I go, and then you slowly turn the wheel each direction a few times to make sure you get all the air out, and it should be fine. I saw one guy, he was mounting a power steering cooler. He was worried about this trapping air, but the fluid flows through there fast enough. I'm not worried about it trapping any air. So, yeah. It's actually working out pretty good though for the most part. I did spill some fluid. I'm going to have to clean that up eventually. Okay, so I finally got the new piece of hose on here. I had to get the old piece off. I had to cut the old hose clamp off because it was a crimp type. I got like 10 foot of power steering hose. So then I just ran it, cut it, and then hose clamped it here. And, you know, that should be fine. I might put some wire loom on it just to protect it from rubbing on anything. But it should be good. And then, you know, I already had this piece which came off my brother's truck. And then, you know, all that. So I do have power steering fluid. I'm going to fill it back up now. Keep an eye out for any leaks. If I have any leaks, then I'll just replace the hose clamps with some that can get tighter or whatever. But I don't think I should have any leaks. That's pretty much it for this video. And it should make it last a little bit longer. And yeah.